Hi guys, so today I actually want to share a recipe with you. I know so many of you love my recipes and I love that you guys love it. I think I might have mentioned this before, so if you've heard me say it, I'm going to repeat myself, but in my early 20s, I used to be very self-conscious about my food and cooking and wondering if people hated it or loved it. I always stressed out about it all the time. But as I got into my 30s and really started to enjoy cooking and baking, I feel pretty confident, and I hope that you guys do too when you cook. Now, this next recipe I want to share with you, you're obviously going to know what it is by the title of this video, but it is arroz con pollo. So here's my thing and why I wanted to share this recipe. One, I don't make up really any of the recipes that I share with you guys. It's just things that I enjoy, and I sometimes will alter the ingredients based on what I like, but I'm basically following this ingredient almost to the T with just difference in seasoning, but only because I don't have the seasoning that it calls for. But for me, the challenge when I'm cooking is we really do love chicken. I try not to make too much red meat, but you can only do chicken so many ways. And also, one thing before I keep going, I do have my dishwasher on, so I'm sorry, it's really bad timing, but I'm cooking this and I want to share this with you guys, so I apologize about that. Back to what I was saying, there's only so many ways that I can cook chicken until I have to find recipes to get, inspiration. And so arroz con pollo has always been in the back of my mind since I was little, from watching Ricky Ricardo on I Love Lucy. So I thought to myself, you know what? I want to actually make arroz con pollo because anytime that it comes up on I Love Lucy, it makes me hungry. So I went and searched for a recipe, and what I like to do is I'll search for a recipe and I'll compare it to other ones and see the difference in ingredients that each one will call for, and then I'll find the one that I feel like the ingredients are good for my specific palette. So that's what I found here. In no way, shape, or form am I the arroz con pollo aficionado or anything like that. I did not grow up eating this whatsoever. So if you have a great arroz con pollo recipe, please paste it down below for everyone. Share your recipes with everyone here, and any other recipes that I've made on my channel, I'll link at the end of this video and also in the description box below. Actually, I'll include the favorites that I've seen you guys rave about at the end of this video, and then all the other ones down below if you just want to check out, because I've done all kinds of things. I've done dinners, I've done side dishes, desserts, drinks, etc. And I have noticed that with this specific recipe, I love it the next day. It doesn't take as long to cook as you would think, at least not for this specific recipe, but I think the reason why it tastes so amazing the next day is because all the flavors have been like marrying together, and it just tastes wonderful as a leftover. All right guys, let's go ahead and get started and take a look at the ingredients. I usually use about 2 chicken breasts, but depending on how many people you're feeding, you may want to use more. But I am cooking to the recipe, which calls for 2 to 3 chicken breasts, because I do like the leftovers. You're also going to need a box of yellow rice, or any rice that you would prefer, chicken stock, yellow onion, Cajun seasoning, although the recipe calls for Creole seasoning, but this is the closest thing that I have. Hunt's diced tomatoes. The recipe actually calls for fire roasted. I always have those on hand, but I didn't happen to have it in my pantry. But I do have these diced tomatoes. Now, I love tomatoes, so in my next recipe, I'm also going to include a can of stewed tomatoes. Those are my favorite. So if you love tomatoes, add tomatoes to this thing. But I am going to add 2 cans. Usually I only add 1, but this time I'm going to add 2. 2 bell peppers. You can use any color or flavor that you like. I'm going to use a red and a green today because that's what I have on hand. Otherwise, if I had a yellow, I would add a yellow as well on top of these 2. You'll also need some shredded cheese. And you can also use sour cream as well. In the end, when it's ready, you can just put a dollop of sour cream, put some shredded cheese, and you're good to go. However, I'm not a sour cream fan, so I personally skip that step. Now, this recipe is probably best cooked in a Dutch oven, and I got this Dutch oven from Amazon, and I'll link it down below. And also, Just in case you are shopping online, don't forget to go through eBates, and if you need to sign up, it's down below for you. First, I'm going to add a tablespoon of olive oil to my Dutch oven pot. It is on a medium high, and then I'm going to dice up my chicken breast into cubes and season it with my Cajun seasoning. Although again, the recipe calls for Creole, but you can use any seasoning that you wish. Once your pot is heated, toss your chicken in and brown on all sides. The chicken does not need to be cooked all the way through, you just want it browned. You're going to remove it once it's browned, and then you'll see you will put the chicken back in a little bit later. While the chicken is cooking, this is where I'm going to dice up my green bell pepper, my red bell pepper, and my yellow onion. My cutting knife is in the dishwasher, so I have to use a steak knife. Sorry. Once the chicken has browned, I remove it from the pot. I just put it onto a temporary plate, and then I set it aside. I add another tablespoon of olive oil, and then I add in the bell peppers and the onions that I just diced. Now I do want my bell peppers and onions to cook until they're very soft, so it's roughly about 8 to 10 minutes for me personally, and in that process I do like to clean up. I just have this habit of making sure the kitchen is tidy as I go. This recipe is honestly so incredibly simple. The next step is I'm going to add the packet of yellow rice, and then I'm going to add my tomatoes to it, and then we're going to add the chicken stock to it as well. I don't actually season it with anything else, although this could be that point where if you wanted to add extra seasoning, you could do so. The recipe doesn't call for it. Again, I'll leave it down in the description box below for you. So I just kind of followed it to a T, and I think it tastes delicious. So I'm adding in that chicken stock. It's about 2.5 cups, and then I'm going to put the lid back on the Dutch oven, and I'm gonna let it do its thing until the rice is fully cooked through. I cook it until I like the consistency. of the liquid. I want it to not be soupy. So I think it's about a 40-ish minute cook time for me, specifically with my gas stove. And the recipe is that simple. Once it's done, I immediately serve. It's very delicious straight out as soon as it's finished. But again, I love it even more so the next day. I hope that you guys love this recipe. Leave any recipes that you want in the description or in the comments down below, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.